Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Christina from the Glaser Tutoring Company, and today we're doing some polynomial work where we have to expand the binomial. Now, binomial, bi in scientific terms and, mathematical terms, that means two. And if we're in the realm of polynomials, a binomial just means that you have a two-term expression. Now, if I'm looking over here, I have 2m minus 3. The two terms is the 2m, this one has the variable m, and then the negative 3. This one has no variable, so that's why they're classified as two different terms. Now, the 2m minus 3 is being squared, or raised to the second. In this case, we just have to expand on this notation. And expansion just means that you're just going to basically write it out in a bigger or a larger format. So let's get down to that. Now, when you're raising binomials or polynomials to any exponent, so raised to the second, raised to the third, etc., that exponent is telling you basically how many binomials or polynomials you have. So in this case, if we are taking our 2m minus 3 and we are squaring it, we have 2 of those binomials. So that's what's going to be the expansion. We just need to write 2m minus 3 2 times, because we got 2 of them. So here comes the first one, 2m minus 3. Let's close that first parenthesis. There's my first one. And now let's just do it again. 2m minus 3, close the parenthesis, and bada bing, bada boom, you now have your expansion. You got your two terms written out beautifully. It's all in front so we could look at it. But now let's just do the math, right? Now, when you are raising something to the exponent, right, raising it to the second in this case, the operation between the two polynomials is multiplication, right? If you had 4 squared, this is the same as 4 times 4. So the operation of exponents is secretly always multiplication. So we just have to multiply these two binomials together. So many different ways of doing that. You could, do it the chart method, the FOIL method. I just like to think of it in terms of distributing and always being fair. So let's take fairness and use that to help us out with this problem. Now, you're mainly going to be doing most of the heavy lifting on your first binomial here. Once you be fair with these terms, and you do all your multiplication, then you just got to simplify and then call it a day. So let's go for it. Only look at one term at a time. So we know that we have to multiply. I'm going to take my 2m, and I must multiply it, right? But you would never multiply with values that are in the same parenthesis. That's a big no-no. It literally says subtraction here. So we must go across the pond, across the parenthesis to do our multiplication. Now, the 2m is going to get multiplied by the 2m in the other parenthesis. But as that's happening, the negative 3 is like, oh, I want to be multiplied too. So that's where the fairness comes in. You must take your first term and exhaust all your options. Take that 2m and times it by the 2m, and then you're going to take your 2m and times it by the negative 3. Let's do the math. And then we'll come back to the next term. So when you're doing this, always focus on your numbers first, and then focus on your variables. So 2m times 2m. 2 times 2 is 4, so we got a 4 here. Now m times m. When you are multiplying variables, it's like you're collecting them. You gotta catch them all. So in this case, I have one m value. In the other one, I got another m value. How many total m's do you have? Yeah, you got 2, right? So we write that as m squared. You technically add your exponents. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So 2m times 2m is 4m squared. Now, let's go on to the next one. 2m times negative 3. And just be careful of using the proper signs. This minus in the front says that 3 is a negative. So 2m times negative 3. 2 times a negative 3 is a negative 6. And then this one has an m value. This one doesn't have any m values, so we just bring that m value along for the ride. Okay, now, once we've exhausted all options with the first one, forget about it and move on to the next one. So now we have another -3, and we must multiply that with the two terms. So we're going to take our -3 times it by the 2m. You got to be fair. We must take the -3 and times it by the other -3. So let's go for it. Numbers first. -3 times 2 is a -6. This one has no m values. This one has just the one m, so -6m. -3 times the final one, -3, is a +9. Now, we've exhausted all of our options. All we have to do now is simplify, and then you're done. Now, notice how I drew these in different colors, because when you're simplifying, m squareds only want to simplify with m squareds. M's only want to simplify with m's. So that's why I drew these in blue, because these are the only two that can only be simplified. The 4m squared can't be simplified, so that just comes along for the ride. And now we have -6 minus 6. So -6 minus 6 is a -12. And when you're adding or subtracting variables, the variable stays the same. Only when you're multiplying do you collect them all. But when you're adding or subtracting, the variable name stays exactly the same. So since this is an m and this is an m, this is just going to be an m. And now, let's just finish it up with a +9, and that's it. Can't simplify it anymore, so you're done. 4m squared minus 12m plus 9 is the full expansion. And that's the answer. Oh yeah. What'd you think? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming to the channel. Yeah, leave a comment if you want to. I try to get back to as many comments as I can in my spare time. So thank you so much. I hope you're doing well out there. Keep studying hard. I'm always rooting for you on your tests and quizzes. And I hope you're having a great day out there. All right? Study, study, study. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Okie dokie. Bye-bye.